Hello, welcome to today's lesson on using quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations. Now we are going to use quadratic formula and approach several quadratic equations and try to solve them to find the value of the unknowns. Now in the last lesson we talked about deriving the quadratic formula. So we are going to use the derived quadratic formula to determine the values of the unknown inside a quadratic equation. Now, how are we going to use this quadratic formula? Now we are going to tackle it in form of a question. We know that the quadratic formula that we derived can be used to solve a quadratic equation. So let us look at it in form of a question. So the question goes, use the quadratic formula to solve for x in the equation you have been given is x squared plus 7x plus 3 equals to 0. Now, from this equation, we can derive for the coefficients a, b, and the constant c. So you can see the value of a is 1, the value of b is 7, and the value of c is 3. Now, quadratic formula as it has been given, or as it was derived, is that x equals to negative b plus or minus under the root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So equate the values of a, b, and c into the formula and you'll have this. You go ahead and simplify. You'll end up with negative 7 plus or minus under the root 49 minus 12. Now 49 minus 12 is just that 7 over 2. So this one goes ahead and gives us x equals to minus 7 plus or minus square root of 37 over 2. Now the square root of 37, you have to find it is 6.083. So it means that x equals to minus 7 plus or minus 6.083 over 2. So x has two values. So it means that the first value we'll find when the square root is positive. The second value is when the square root is negative. So the first value is when the square root is positive. So that is negative 7 plus or minus 6.083 divided by 2. And this one gives us negative 0.4585. So that is the first value of x. We go ahead and do it when the square root is negative. And that gives us negative 7 minus 6.083 over 2. It gives us negative 6.5415. So those are the two values of x in this equation. Those are the two roots of x in this equation using the quadratic formula. We are going ahead and looking at a second example with the same question using the quadratic formula. Solve for the value of x in 9p squared plus 24p plus 16 equals to 0. Now, in this equation, you realize that the variable that has been used, or the unknown that has been used, is p. That should not worry you. P and x, they can be used interchangeably. So, we'll first of all establish that the value of a is 9, the value of b is 24, and the value of c is 16. So using the quadratic formula, where you interchange the value of x with p now, and you find that a quadratic formula still holds. So equate the values of a, b, and c into the formula, and you end up with p equals negative 24 plus or minus under the root is going to be b squared, that is 24 squared, minus into brackets 4ac, that is 4 times 9 times c, which is 16 over 2 times a, that is 2 times 9. We go ahead and simplify, you get that p equals to that, and you go ahead also and simplify, you get that p equals to negative 24 plus or minus square root of 0, because 576 minus 576 gives us 0 divided by 18. Mark you, we said that when the discriminant is 0, then the equation has one root because it is a perfect square. So it means that the value of p equals negative 24 plus or minus 0 over 18. So P equals to negative 24 over 18, which translates to negative 1 over 3. So it has one root, showing that it is a perfect square, a perfect equation. Now we look at next example of using quadratic formula. Now in the next example, it still requires us to use the quadratic formula to solve for x in 4x squared plus 12x minus 9 equals to 0. So in this equation, we'll establish that the value of a is 4, the value of b is 12, and the value of c is negative 9. Using the quadratic formula, as it has been highlighted, we will put or replace or equate the values of a, b, and c into the formula, and you end up with x equals negative 12 plus or minus under the root 12 squared minus bracket 4 times 4 times negative 9 over 2 times 4. And here we end up with x equals to negative 12 plus or minus 144 minus 144. That brings it to become makes it to become a positive. So it means 144 plus 144 over 8. And this one translates to x equals to negative 12 plus or minus the square root of 288, because we know 288 is 144 minus 144, then over 8. So this one translates to negative 12 plus or minus the square root of 288 is 16.971 over 8. Now given this, it means that x has two roots, or this equation has two roots. So there are two values of x. The first value is when the square root is a positive. The second value is when the square root is a negative. So let us do. When the square root is a positive, the value of x is 0.6214. And when the square root is a negative, the value of x is negative 3.6214. So you can see quadratic formula can still be used to solve a lot of quadratic equations. Thank you for watching and learning. You can like and subscribe to my YouTube channel on BC Online Mathematics and Facebook channel on BC Online Math. Thank you very much, and may you be blessed.